Unwind, you fucking idiot. This is what happens when you run on like 8 minutes of sleep as opposed to 8 hours. You have a fight with your fucking microphone. I'm gonna go to sleep the moment this video goes online. Like, holy fuck. Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today we're talking about Forked Tongues, the third studio album from Craven Idol. And please, do not let my somewhat uncharacteristic lack of enthusiasm and energy lead you to believe that this is somehow a lackluster release in any sense. Do not let it make you think that this is a particularly tiresome or boring record, because that is not the case. In fact, if anything, I think it's safe to say that Craven Idol may have just released their best record to date, or at the very least their most ambitious and well-arranged and executed. Over the course of this past decade, I've watched Craven Idol evolve from a relatively straightforward kind of black thrash band into the beast they are today. Craven Idol and I, we go way fucking back, and for this reason alone, I've been anticipating this album for some time, and my anticipation only continued to grow and swell when I learned that this would be a concept album. Writing here on the album's Bandcamp page, the album takes on the anomalous tale of the serpentine beast Typhon, the fiercest of all titans in Greek mythology. The father of monsters is said to have challenged Zeus to do battle for cosmic supremacy, ultimately succumbing to the Olympians' might and facing imprisonment beneath Mount Etna. According to legend, the sporadic eruptions of the volcano are due to the enduring wrath of Typhon. Instead of merely reciting an ancient myth, Forked Tongues acts as a sequel to the original tale, with Typhon returning to settle old scores. In Forked Tongues, the Olympians are depicted as being vulnerable, as being weak and fragile, and as such, can't really do anything to stop Typhon's literal rampage. The album is a never-ending flurry, a vicious hurricane, a maelstrom of apocalyptic blackened thrash and death metal. Unrelenting, uncompromising, performed with the precision, the malice, the hatred that I would absolutely expect from, oh, I don't know, a fucking ancient beast out for revenge. The opening cut, Venomous Rites, waste absolutely no time whatsoever, sonically opening a portal to hell with chaotic blackened death and thrash riffery all over the goddamn place. There are explosive barrages of thunderous percussion and ominous and oppressive rhythm guitar. The lead guitar parts are consistently practically crying out in pain, consistently wailing with the force of like some classic first wave and proto black metal. Like, this entire number kind of feels like if we fused early Bathory and later Bathory into one pissed off little monster and then injected it with straight up crack cocaine. It's a pretty fucking bonkers cut, to say the least. Quite possibly one of the most excessively brutal cuts that Craven Idol have ever created. And the fact that they use this as the opening cut is nothing short of remarkable. The absolute fucking balls. My God. Mad respect. The following track, Wrath of Typhon, isn't quite as immediate, meditating and building on some very mysterious kind of first and second wave black metal riffs, but it doesn't take long for this to become an especially hectic number either. There's a moment right around the 2-minute and 50-second mark in particular that is just disgusting, with these fierce, agonizing, acidic vocals layered on top of some deep gutturals and some fierce percussion and some really sharp tremolo riffing. The following two tracks, Iron Age of Devastation and Even the Demons, are a lot more straightforward and comprehensible in comparison to what we've heard so far, as the band are indulging in more of their first wave and second wave black metal influences. The former track sports a pretty nasty kind of old school extreme metal drum roll that I would expect from like an early Sepultura or Possessed record, before eventually evolving into a classic Bathory worship number. While the latter track sports a weirdly kind of spunky kind of riff and verse that almost feel like they could have been pulled from an old Venom number, but both are still remarkably heavy. In fact, Even the Demons eventually blossoms into a pretty grim and apocalyptic kind of black metal number, very reminiscent of what I might expect from like Watain or Behemoth in like the mid to late 2000s. From here on, the tracks start to get a lot longer, a lot more progressive, a lot more epic in size and scope and presentation, and this is where the album begins to ever so briefly lose me. The music remains incredibly brutal and mostly engaging, don't get me wrong, but there are brief moments that kind of break the flow unintentionally, and there are brief moments that drag on perhaps longer than necessary. The final two cuts in particular, Defy the Storm God and The Gods Have Left Us for Dead, both clock in at just under 9.5 minutes long, and I feel like we could probably remove at least 3 minutes worth of fat and lose little of substance. The album's title track, Forked Tongues, though much shorter, is guilty of this as well, in part because there's a moment right around the 3-minute mark in which it feels as if the track has come to a complete stop. Like, there's this big, thunderous, metallic clash, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, oh, that's a pretty epic way to end this song, and then there's 2 literal seconds of silence. And then the track kind of starts up again, and it feels like it's slowly building to somehow an even more explosive climax. And ironically, after all this build-up, after all this tension, I still find myself preferring the fake climax to the real climax. Like, you probably could have just cut this track exactly at the 3-minute mark and, I don't know, you would have had a tighter song. But, you know, it's not really a huge deal in the grand scheme of things. I mean, the album doesn't run all that long to begin with. All of the material here is incredibly exciting. The performances are incredible. The production is fantastic. The guitars are razor sharp. The drums are gigantic. The vocals are so disgusting, so acidic and toxic. There are a lot of great choir and keyboard pieces across the entire album that give this a great apocalyptic vibe. Like, it literally does feel as if there is some kind of nightmarish creature constantly circling the album. I would give this a 4 out of 5, a very enthusiastic one at that. This is some of the best material that Craven Idol have ever written and performed and produced to date. It is just an absolutely insane maelstrom of blackened death and thrash insanity from start to finish, pooling the best ideas and spices from across the black metal spectrum, from bands like Bathory, Celtic Frost, the aforementioned Possessed and Sepultura and Venom, other bands like Absu and Mystifier. The story, the concept of this album is extremely well developed and fleshed out and genuinely pretty clever. I can't really think of another band that's tried to write like an original story, a sequel surrounding like a classic Greek tale. I mean, everything about this project, including that stunning album artwork, quite possibly one of the best pieces of album art in 2021, is just so well thought out and thoroughly detailed. As hateful and violent as this music is, you can weirdly still feel genuine love and passion, not just for black or death or thrash metal or extreme metal, but for the Greek mythology. Oh, my fucking head hurts. Jesus Christ. Yeah, we're done here. 4 out of 5, a fucking great record. I'd love to go listen to this again, but I think first I'm going to go to sleep. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? Thank you for watching. Make sure you press this button right here so you can get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately, in case you somehow aren't already. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.